there's two-phase submission option there online. In other words, rather than doing an entire project and then once construction is over and we upload all our proof at once and then find out where we're at in terms of points and credits and this and that, we can break it down into credits earned during design and credits earned during construction. So that at the end of the design phase we could have a design review. Good idea. Doesn't cost you anything extra to have a two-part review. A lot of the credits on here will be purely design related. Some of them will be mostly construction related. Right? So this allows us to break it up into two parts. Has anyone heard that LEED is really like an architect's thing? Didn't say you believed it, just asked if you've heard it. This is purely a designer's business. No one? Right? That's usually a common misconception, that this is really just for the designers to worry about. How many people have heard it's just for the contractors? Good. I'm glad no one has heard that. The truth is that it is both. You cannot achieve, my opinion of course, but you cannot achieve LEED certification for a building just with the architect and designer and engineers alone. I don't personally believe you can get there. I also don't believe that you can get there by having the contractor try to do it by themselves either. One thing that I think that you should learn at the end of this training series is that LEED requires a lot of coordination and communication amongst the project team members. All right, that's not exactly shocking news, I know. You can't build anything without good communication and coordination. But I truly believe that LEED steps that up and requires more communication coordination for a successful project. All right, the registration process itself. You actually register a project with GBCI, Green Build Certification Institute. There's links directly from USGBC's website to these folks. That's where you register a project. You've got to fill out some information. Who owns the project, who's the architect, who's the contractor, who's going to be involved, some owner information, primary, normal project stuff, telling USGBC about the project. What's our scope, how big is it, how much are we going to spend, who's going to be in it, and of course, the very important payment information. To register a project costs. Now, to register it doesn't cost a whole lot. If you're a member of USGBC, it's $450 to register a building. Doesn't matter what size. If you're a non-member, it's $600 to register a building. That's just the registration part. The certification fees, now, those can get quite sizable, shall we say. I want to say that the upper end of this is if you have a building that's over 500,000 square feet, I want to say the total fees for certification are going to be around $17,000. Okay? It's prorated on a square footage basis. We'll look at that when we get to the website. The important thing here is to understand that registration is a fixed fee and certification is a fee based on project size. That is the type of question that might be on the exam, the accreditation exam. They might ask you, what is the project registration fee based on, and give you choices like, project size or project cost or whatever, but when in fact it's a fixed fee. Right? Questions about the certification process are definitely fair game on the exam. All right. Minimum program requirements. What do you got to do, what's the stuff? What are the requirements to have a LEED certified building? Okay, some basic things. It's got to be a building. All right, like a park is not a LEED project. An outhouse is not, there has to be a building. It has to be occupied, has to have certain occupancy rates. You have to have some people in it. All right, you got to comply with environmental laws, and they must have a reasonable site boundary. All right, here's something new though that I want to point out. If we're going for LEED project certification, one of the things that the owner agrees to is to allow USGBC access to whole building energy, water, and usage data. They're going to start tracking real-world energy consumption for buildings, energy and water. This is new. I want to say this is new on 2009. Right? So for an owner, it means, hey, if I'm going to become LEED certified, there's some requirements there to give information to LEED on a yearly basis. All right. The new LEED accredited professional system. Here's the important stuff. It used to be, like when I took it, you took one exam. It was a 2-hour multiple choice exam, closed book, a lot of memorization, and you became a LEED accredited professional. Now that is a 2-step process. Step 1 is LEED Green Associate. That's the exam that should have started this week. LEED Green Associate. Well, what does it mean to be a LEED Green Associate? You take a 2-hour, you have to apply. It's going to ask you some general knowledge questions of green building practices. Right? This class, especially the first 4 lectures of this class, will really get you prepared for that, understanding LEED, green building practices. It is 2 hours and it is multiple choice. If you want to become a LEED accredited professional, or now it's known as LEED AP Plus, you have to take a second exam, and you have to specialize in some area, like building design and construction. The book that we're going to use for this class. You should be well prepared for that as well. Now, this class, there's no training or no class that can make you memorize things. I want to be perfectly clear. There is a lot of memorization on this exam. Personally, and this is opinion, I am not a fan of the exam. Why? Because I'm an engineer. I don't need to memorize things. I have books. I pick up a book if I really need to know something. I don't have to memorize it. The exam makes you cram things in your head and then regurgitate them just for the exam. It also has a fairly, or at least it used to under the old system, had a very, very steep failure rate. I don't know what that was, but it was pretty rough. It was very, very, very common for people to fail it the first time they took it. I know a classmate of yours, Casey Adams, one of our Connie students, he's failed the exam, I want to say 2 or 3 times. Okay, so it can be challenging if you don't take it seriously. All right, we're going to talk a lot about getting ready for the exam in this class.